Welcome back. In this video, we'll check out the Republican Party. Okay, so the Republican Party coalition, this one is a little bit less diverse than the Democratic Party coalition. So the Republican Party coalition is probably basically what you expect. Republicans do well with middle-aged and older voters, white voters, men, evangelical or Christian conservatives, so talking about usually Protestants would be another way, but it's kind of more specific than that to just say Protestant, but evangelical Christians typically vote very strongly Republican, like 80% of the time. Those with an income greater than $50,000 a year typically vote Republican. Again, when we say typically, these are percentages that are much closer to 50%, something like 55 to 60%, so there's still a lot of people with income higher than $50,000 who don't vote Republican. Southern and Midwestern voters also are places that the Republican Party does very well in the South and the Midwest. Contrast that with Democrats who do well in the Northeast and the West. So they each kind of have a couple of regions that they particularly do well. Democrats on coastal regions, Republicans kind of everywhere in between. Just like Democrats do well with city and urban voters, Republicans, on the other hand, do well with rural voters. So basically the battle is essentially for the suburbs, since Democrats overwhelmingly dominate urban areas, Republicans overwhelmingly dominate rural areas, so the suburbs are really the one that kind of is 50-50 and can go either way. Republicans do well with white-collar workers, so whereas Democrats do well with labor unions, blue-collar type of workers, Republicans do well with white-collar, more professional, higher-paying jobs type of workers, and they also do well with veterans. All right, so the Republican platform, again, I'm going to compare the same issues that I used for the Democrats so that we can kind of make an apples-to-apples comparison here. The Republicans support increasing defense spending. They also advocate decreasing the amount of money that we spend on social welfare programs, especially ones like food stamps and welfare and Medicaid. Those are ones that are not particularly popular in the Republican Party. Decrease money spent on public education, but on the other hand, they would want to use that money that was going to public education formerly and use that to increase access to vouchers for private schools. So they argue in favor of school choice, giving parents the ability to use that taxpayer money to send the child to the school of their choice, even if that school does happen to be religious. That is not a problem. Republicans also advocate cutting taxes. So whereas Democrats advocated tax cuts for specifically lower and middle class Americans, but tax increases on the wealthy, Republicans support tax cuts across the board. Republicans oppose gun regulation, and they support pro-life measures, and typically oppose environmental regulations. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button for me. Until next time, this has been a Money Production.